Good afternoon, folks. Robert Chappell here, executive editor of Madison365, with your daily update for Friday. We made it to Friday, January 28th, 2022. We were going to get through the COVID information pretty quick here because it's all pretty decent news. And then we're going to get to an interview I recorded earlier this afternoon with Allison Davidson. You'll remember, if you have been a regular viewer of the program for a long time, a year ago, Jimmie Joshua was tackled and thrown to the ground by sheriff's deputies in the jail, broke his hip, left him in a cell for 15 hours. He ended up in the hospital 8 days. He's still disabled from that. He has just recently filed a federal lawsuit stemming from that incident, seeking compensatory and punitive damages. And we're going to talk with Allison, his fiancée, about what happened and sort of where that stands today. It is pretty good news on the COVID front, though. As I mentioned, 7,301 cases is the current 7-day average. We're at 6,986 new cases for today, that was 8,000 something yesterday, so we're just kind of headed in this really steeply downward direction in terms of case counts, right? Also coming down, though not quite as steeply, is the 7-day positive test rate is now at 22.0%. That was 30 back on the 7th of January. So that's coming down, but not quite as fast. Hospitalizations continue to fall also very quickly. We're down to 1,700 now, currently hospitalized, 360 in the ICU. Both of those are down between 15 and 20% just in the past week. Like, it's remarkable how quickly hospitalizations are falling. The people are getting discharged from the hospital and then not replaced. Now, there are still staffing issues in some spots. Emergency departments still getting full, and really having a hard time processing people. But in terms of admissions, they're down. We are now up to 121 ICU beds currently available in the state of Wisconsin, which is clearly not enough for the whole state, right? But that was down to like 39 at one point. So that's also much better. Also, good news. I'm surprised and pleased. I don't know if say pleased, but 31 deaths per day right now, which is obviously high, right? That's equivalent to heart disease in terms of number of deaths per day, which is the leading cause of death in Wisconsin. But I really thought this would be higher by now, and I'm really glad that it's not. It got up to about 39 at one point. I thought, okay, here we go. It's going to get really high, and then it never did. So, it'll probably continue to go up. This is a lagging indicator. We're looking at the deaths that are a result of the cases 4 weeks ago or so, where it was about 6,000 cases a day, which is almost where we are now. But we went through this period where it was 12,000, 15,000 cases a day. So you'd expect to see more deaths in the next coming weeks, but we will cross our fingers and hope that it never surges. It might not. So that's the COVID situation. If any questions about that, drop them in the chat. Or in the comments, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to get now to our interview with Allison. You'll notice I've changed my shirt since I did this interview, so and probably have different glasses on, so don't be thrown off by that. But here's my chat with Allison. We'll come back. We'll have an update on the lawsuit, and as well as some other local news for you on the other side of this. So here you go. And joining us today, Allison Davidson, who is the fiancée of Jimmie Joshua, who we've been covering his saga, who has now filed a federal lawsuit against Dane County, as well as several individual Dane County deputies, as well as WellPath, the healthcare provider for the Dane County Jail. Allison, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, good. Can you just get us up to speed? Remind us, we covered this last year. This is an incident that happened all the way back in December 2020. Can you just remind us, tell us exactly what happened back in December 23rd, I think it was.
Yes. What happened was Jimmie, he had COVID at the time, so he was only allotted 1 hour out a day. And they were trying to tell him he had to lock down early when we had a visitor, a phone call, one of the two. And so he got, upset about that, and was kind of bickering back and forth with the deputy. And at that time he started backing up into his cell, which is where they grabbed him. And then two other deputies came in, and that's when they lifted him up by his leg and slammed him down.
And we should note that this is all on video. Like, this is not alleged or anything like that. This is on video. We've seen the video. We have the video of this happening, that he was doing what he was told. He's backing into the cell, and they were mad, and they grabbed him and they threw him out. And so we found out later that when they threw him to the concrete floor, that fractured his hip, right?
Yep. They I believe his hip and pelvis was shattered. He was telling me that his hip bone was all the way behind his butt.
Which is not where it's supposed to be.
No, it's not where it's supposed to be.
But then what happened next is also a part of the lawsuit as well, right?
Yes. Then they carted him into SEG and
the segregation. To segregate cell, right?
Yep, and left him lying there naked for 16 hours with no medical attention. And then also they were giving him water through the little door thing in the cell, but they would put it right where he couldn't reach it, and he couldn't move.
Right? Yeah, you don't move very well if you have a broken hip.
Yeah.
But if I remember right, you did not. They didn't give him really any medical attention until you found out what was happening and raised the concern, right?
Yes. We usually have a phone call like every morning or visit. And I didn't hear from him, and I just could feel like something was off. So in the jail they have tablets where you can do visits and all that, and there's an option where I can like call him on the visit. And one of the men that were out on his hour out answered the visit, my phone call visit, and explained to me what was going on.
Okay. And you then called the jail to say something was wrong, you need to check on him?
Yes, that's when I hung up with him and called up there and talked to Sergeant Lurkwin and explained what was going on. And his response was that we don't do that here. Jimmie must be lying.
Of course.
Right. So
but when they finally did try to get him an x-ray, he couldn't even move his leg enough to get x-rayed by the equipment that's at the jail, right? So they had to take him to UW Hospital.
Yeah, he couldn't.
And then how long did he stay at UW Hospital?
I want to say maybe 8 days. Yeah,
it was a significant stay, and he had kind of like emergency surgery.
Yes,
that day, right?
Yes, where he had a huge.
I'll say I read the medical reports and the report from the surgeon who said it was a significant fracture, and they had to put a plate and 8 screws into his hip, and so all of that, which happened all the way back in December, which we finally were able to confirm and report in March of 2021. Now, almost a year later, even after that, you've got an attorney. Jimmie's got a lawsuit filed in federal court seeking compensatory damages as well as punitive damages to against the county and these individuals and WellPath, the company that is that does the healthcare for the jail. What exactly is he or you as a team seeking from the county?
Well, I think Jimmie deserves justice, and the men that did this to him should not be working there. They obviously don't know what excessive force is, and just think it's okay to go ahead and treat in particularly Black men and women however they want to and think they're going to get away with it.
So do you want do you want them to lose their jobs at the county, or do you just want the county to have to pay for Jimmie's care and that kind of stuff, or both?
Well, Jimmie's going to be crippled for the rest of his life because of this. We're looking for hopefully just medical, for the rest of his life, and what's happened to him mentally and physically are both important. He already suffers from severe mental health issues.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So he's. My understanding is he's now at where is he now? Columbia County.
He is in Columbia County. Yes,
right, at the state facility there, and and you say he's going to be crippled for the rest of his life. How is he doing now, a year later?
Every day he's just in a lot of pain. He still is being mistreated. They have been forcing him to go up and down the stairs with his walker, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The man's handicapped, and he's fallen down the stairs like 4 or 5 times now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got to speak with him the other day, and he said there is actually a unit there that houses people who have disabilities, which has an elevator, which doesn't force you to go up and down stairs, but they're not letting him stay there for whatever reason.
Yes, and they won't talk to me about it. He's put in for a release of information, so I'm able to talk to the nursing staff. Sure. And all that, and they're putting that off
to advocate for him. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's once again the original lawsuit. The lawsuit that's been filed now is against the county because he was in the Dane County jail at that time, and he's now been moved into state custody to complete his sentence, which I think is another year and a half or so.
Yeah. I believe his release date is August of 23.
Got it. Okay. So the state's going to be having to take care of him for that period of time, and then he's going to be out and on his own. And are you hoping that that you get the lawsuit successful such that you'll have enough to actually take care of him then?
Yes.
After that, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's going to take a lot.
Allison, I really appreciate your time today. Just last question or two here. Dane County Sheriff Calvin Barrett was not sheriff at the time. What would you say to and I will say also that he's been responsive to me, but he's not able to talk about it just because there's a pending lawsuit. So he always just has to refer me to the lawyer. Who then, and then the lawyer says, well, I can't talk because it's pending lawsuit, whatever. But what would you say to if you could talk with Calvin Barrett, or maybe you have talked with him, but what would you say?
I have talked to Calvin Barrett, and he's full of crap, basically. Okay. Every time I've tried to talk to him about Jimmie's situation, all he tries to do is sell me on this new jail idea, and just kind of deflects from the real problem. And what I have to say is, if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything. So,
So when you ask him about Jimmie's situation, he says this is why we need a new jail.
Yeah, and then he goes on and tries to sell me on advocating for this new jail.
That's an interesting, because I'm not sure that being in a different location would have changed the behavior of those deputies.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I mean, this doesn't seem like a facility problem to me.
No, this is a people problem.
Yeah. Okay.
People choose, how they act, and people choose, what they're gonna stand up and believe in, and right is right and wrong is wrong. So.
Right. All right, Allison Davidson, I really appreciate your time today, and best of luck. And we'll be keeping track of this as the lawsuit makes its way through the courts.
Thank you.
We appreciate Allison joining us. I'll mention there's a story on the website, Madison365.org right now. I've got a story on the lawsuit. You can actually read the complaint for the lawsuit, including everybody who's named there. I spoke with Jimmie's lawyer, Paul Kinney, and I've got that story up again at Madison365.org. I also reached out to Sheriff Barrett. I had reached out to the office earlier, and they just referred me to the lawyer to talk about the lawsuit, which of course he didn't want to do. But I reached out specifically directly to Sheriff Barrett and asked about when Allison said that he is trying to use this as a way to advocate for building a new jail. And he just asked, "Did you really say that? And do you think that's an appropriate response?" He did not respond to those emails, surprisingly. So that is that, and that is that again at Madison365.org. Right now, a couple other things I'll mention today. It is on the site, on the website today, this morning. We have, I'm gonna try something new here. Oh, look at that, it worked. We have a profile on Twisted Plants, which is a Black-owned vegan restaurant in Milwaukee that started as a food truck back in 2019, going all around Milwaukee County to various events and things, and has become now a brick and mortar restaurant, which they opened incidentally in the spring of 2020, which is a wild time to open a restaurant, right? But the community support has been there, and they're thriving and they're doing well. So Angelica has that profile up at Madison365.org right now. And also another Black-owned business here out my way in Mount Horeb, right here at 215 East Main Street. Kingsley Goborn, who owns Artemis Provisions and Cheese, and who's also incidentally the chief diversity or chief equity and engagement officer at Group Health Cooperative, and he was on our list of most influential Black leaders in 2021, and he was a panelist at the Wisconsin Leadership Summit last year. He grew up in Blanchardville, which is a very difficult place for a Black kid to grow up. I think Blanchardville, town of about 800 people. About 15 miles south of here in Mount Horeb, and but was really connected with the local farmers down there. It's an agricultural village, and started Artemis Cheese and Provisions, Artemis Provisions and Cheese, right, to kind of connect those local farmers with local consumers, and help people, especially through a pandemic, help farmers sell their meat and help local people source their meat and foods and cheeses. So it's been going so well that they're actually opening a brick and mortar location here in Mount Horeb, where Kingsley lives, and his wife Melissa are going to run it together. They put together financing through various tax incentives and TIF district funding and all sorts of stuff. So it's an interesting story that is on Madison365.org right now. And also today we have a preview of a thing that's already happening, actually, is the Wisconsin Historical Society and its Indigenous Storytelling Project. These are all, I think they're all, are they all Oneida people? No, Ojibwe, I'm sorry, Ojibwe. Ojibwe storytellers highlighting the sort of ancient and important cultural art of storytelling. This is a series that's every Monday night for the next Tuesday night. I'm sorry, every Tuesday night for the next several weeks. You can hear these storytellers plying their craft. And that is all I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I hope also that we'll continue to have good news on the COVID front for you next week. Again, classes resumed at the University of Wisconsin System schools this week. We did see a big surge when they came back in the fall of 2020. We saw a smaller surge when they came back in the fall of 2021. We'll see if there's a surge when they come back in the spring of 2022. The Omicron surge has happened entirely during winter break, right? So students coming back might actually cause a bit of a bump. We will see. I hope it doesn't. But we'll probably start to see, if it does, we'll start to see that next week. So have a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you soon.
This is 365 Media.